Alright, so in this video we're going to talk about the fastest and easiest way to get professional and accurate color in your color grading, and that is using reference images. So rather than going into your color grade just all willy-nilly and just kind of messing with the sliders and tweaking the colors and just seeing what looks good, having a reference image to base your color grade off of will make you work a lot more efficiently and make you work just faster as an editor. It also develops your eye as a colorist because you start to learn how to see what other people are doing in their coloring, and you can kind of use the tools and figure out how to match that with the tools that you have available to you. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through color grading a scene using the scene that we've been working on, and we're going to match it to a still that I pulled from the internet. So if you go in here into Premiere, you'll notice that I've got an image here that I have saved. This is a clip from Dan in Real Life, the movie. And so I'll open that up in my source monitor and then just drag my source monitor over here so I can have it right next to our main clip and I can kind of reference that. Now, the funny thing about this, and this is going to be an interesting challenge, I tried to pick something that was pretty drastically different from what we have already. Now, obviously, we've talked about this before, set design, wardrobe, lighting, like all of those things go into the overall color of a film. And so, this scene with Dan in Real Life, like they obviously had the benefit of knowing what they were going for when they were shooting it. They've lit it that way. His wardrobe, he's wearing a gray-ish shirt that, color grades green pretty well. We've got these green walls. There's a green couch over here. There's a lot of things happening that, we didn't have that advantage with this. What we're doing is we're just taking a video that we've shot previously and trying to adopt that color. So we're going to see how well this goes, and I'm just going to kind of walk you through my thought process as I go through this and I try to create a color palette with my image here that kind of mimics this really cool like green and yellow color palette of Dan in Real Life. Okay. So the first thing I want to look at is we've obviously got this green. Okay, so this is, this green is not a natural color. This is sunlight coming through the window. And so we've got this lamp here that's yellow, kind of lighting up this room, all yellow. And then this is all green. That is clearly color graded that way because it wouldn't be that color naturally, right? And so we need to kind of match that in our scene with, most of our walls here. So we've got some gray here. These walls are probably naturally gray, right? And so we've got some gray here. These are gray. This counter is gray. This wall looks like it's kind of a muted blue. But basically all of this we want to kind of push towards green. And then some of this warmer tone stuff and the skin tones and the lamp and everything we'll obviously want to keep kind of that yellow look. So I'm going to start off by using our color wheels over here. And I'm just going to grab our midtones and just kind of start pushing them into green. And we're just going to see what we can make happen. So we're pushing that into green, and notice that right away we start getting this really intense green effect. I'm going to try and match the color. So basically where I'm looking right here is at this wall. I think this wall and this stone above this fireplace right here are about the same color. This might be a little bit darker, but I think hue-wise, like there's the same kind of gray. And so I'm going to try and match those. So right now this is a little bit too green. This is a little more teal. So I'm going to pull it a little bit more towards teal and just try to get those like pretty similar. Okay, I don't want to go too intense and make it like the Matrix. We just want to kind of pull it back. Let's dial it back kind of in that teal range and try to get those similar in color. Okay, so now we've got those, like those are pretty even right there. So that's about looking good. You'll notice that looking at this countertop, we've got the same kind of hue happening here. Same thing is happening back here. We're getting some of that green, just pushing into the image here. Now I'm going to adjust my shadows as well. So I'll take my shadows color wheel here and just kind of mess around with it. I don't want the shadows to go too green. I want to keep those pretty neutral. And so I might just like take the shadows. Yeah. So I'm going to push the shadows back towards maybe like towards red, just ever so slightly, which is going to kind of pull them back away from that green. Midtones, when you adjust your midtones, it's going to affect a little bit of the shadows as well because there's some overlap between these color wheels. And so if I take those shadows and just push them away from green, so like here's neutral right now, and if I push them away from green, then we just get a little bit of like kind of pull back from that so the shadows don't look too saturated. Okay, so I feel like that looks pretty nice. And then as far as highlights go, we might move those towards green just ever so slightly. It's really just the subtlest of things. That's looking pretty good. We're about in the ballpark. Now, I do want to adjust my shadows here because you'll notice that in this scene, we've got some pretty dark crushed blacks, and mine are a little bit more lifted here. So I'm going to bring my shadows down to kind of meet that level, but I don't want to crush them too much. So I might bring my mid-tones down like we talked about in the color grading video, and then bring the shadows back up just so that we get, you know, a nice smooth tonal range down there in the shadows, but still kind of have that, you know, crushed black effect. So maybe about right there. And then, you know, I might push the greens just a little bit more. Make that effect a little bit more intense. So again, I'm really looking right here. Like I want this color to just about match that color, and we're getting pretty close there. Now, what is happening here is because we're taking this image and we're pushing all this green into it, well, all of our warm tones here, which we want to match this yellow with, are getting kind of infiltrated with green as well. So I'm going to go up to my curves up here and just kind of play with that. In fact, the first thing that I'm going to do before I do that is work with this wall right here. So notice we've got this blue wall. It's not really a problem. We're obviously working with a different colored wall than, you know, the scene from this movie, but I think this will look better and look more like it if we change the color of that wall. So I'm going to choose my color dropper here and then just kind of pick that color of blue on our hue versus hue, and then just kind of start pushing that up a little bit until we get it into that green range. Now, that's pretty green. I think that's where I want it though, and then I'm going to select the same, let's go ahead and select the same range up here on our saturation curves. And I'm just going to bring the saturation of it down. If you ever have colors that are just, you know, not working in your scene or not doing what you want them to, it works to just kind of desaturate them, just kind of pull them out, just get rid of them altogether sometimes. So we're going to change the color of that, make sure that it's right where we want it, and that's, you know, that's about the green that we want. So now we got to do something about those warm tones, because all of our lamp and our warm and everything in here is now all just like really green. And so we want to pull that back a little bit. So I'll use my dropper here again and just select the lamp so we get kind of a range. I'm going to extend this range just a little bit to the sides. And then let's go ahead and start pushing some red into that, okay? We don't want to go too far, obviously, but just a slight effect. So that's what we're starting with, very green. Just by pushing that up just ever so slightly, it's giving us more of an orange effect, which is kind of more what we want. We really want to try and match this, which is really yellow, which means it has quite a bit of green in it, because if you take orange and you add green to it, it makes it more yellow. And so let's just kind of try to match that, and then I'm going to do the same thing up here with our saturation and increase the saturation of that. Okay, that's starting to feel really good. Okay, that might be slightly too orange. Maybe we want it to be a little bit more green. Just like that. Okay, and we can kind of play with the saturation and figure out where we want it. I might widen this a little bit. And put it, you know, maybe about right there. That's getting us pretty close. It's not going to be perfect, but we do what we can. Another thing I want to try, and I'm not really sure how this is going to go over, but let's try just grabbing that yellow right here and just maybe increasing the luminance of it a little bit. Because that lamp in the movie shot is a little bit more blown out. So maybe that'll help us a little bit. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Just going to make some minor adjustments here to the overall color. I feel like the green that we pushed into this image is maybe just slightly too much, so I'll go back down to my color wheels here and just back that off a tiny bit. Just kind of make it, you know, a little bit less saturated so we get a more natural looking effect. And this is looking really good already. So the last thing that we want to look at is skin tones. So I'm going to open up my secondary here. I want to make sure that, you know, regardless of what we're doing to the scene, we still make sure that our skin tones are feeling natural. I'm going to go in here and just kind of select those skin tones using this qualifier tool. And we'll just kind of do a rough job of it just for the sake of time right now. And let's kind of select our skin tones there. Maybe we want a little more of this. Just kind of open it up a little bit more. And then let's take those and play around with them a little bit. They're feeling a little warm. We maybe want to, pull the green out of them. Go a little bit more towards magenta. And that's feeling really nice there. So we can go before. They were just a little bit green. After we're making those skin tones, maybe a little bit too magenta. Let's pull back a little bit. It's always a good idea to just kind of A/B your shots, kind of go back and forth and see how they feel, because you'll be able to see things that you maybe wouldn't be able to otherwise. Maybe even work with the saturation there a little bit. Pull that down just a tad. And there we go. We've got an image now that is pretty closely resembling this shot from Dan in Real Life. Now, once again, like, we didn't have the benefit of set design and wardrobe and everything else, and still, regardless, we still ended up with a pretty nice shot here. The last thing I might do, actually, just notice this, is that his jacket is just a little bit of that kind of magenta-y blue. So I'm going to grab that and just push that towards green as well, just so it kind of matches the rest of the image. I don't really like how it's standing out. So let's grab that and just push some more green into it. About like that. And then again, once again, we're going to just kind of desaturate that a little bit so it's not, too intense. And there you go. Now if you kind of look back and forth between the two shots, we've got a pretty similar look. Again, we're working with completely different set design and wardrobe here, but this is how you can use references to really guide the decisions that you're making as far as color grading. If you've got a reference, you've got a movie or a commercial that you've seen, and you really want to match the look of it, in most cases, you're going to, that process is going to start while you're shooting the film, right? And you're going to be looking at, okay, what time of day should I be shooting? What color do I need to be paying attention to in the wardrobe, the location, the set design, those kind of things. And so you're going to be paying attention to that there. But, even in an extreme situation like this, like I would call this like a pretty extreme, drastic change in color, you can still do a pretty good job of kind of pulling back and finding that balance where you get that resemblance of the scene that you're looking for. So anyway, let's go ahead and just do an A/B back and forth. So if we go back to what we had before, that was the original color. Again, nothing like the movie. And then if we add our color grade, that's what we ended up with. Not bad. So there you go. There's how you can use references to speed up your color grading process. Again, this is one of the best ways that you can really make sure that you're getting accurate color and getting professional looking color, is just by modeling what other people are already doing and doing well. So give that a try sometime. Go out, find a reference that you want to model, bring it into your color grading software, use the tools that you have at your disposal, and see how well you can match it. It's a really great way to not only get really good quality images right off the bat, but also to develop your skills as a colorist and really learn how to use the tools.